And you're live.
It must be
We're
Wednesday.
It is a Wednesday indeed. There. Hey, everybody.
Just another Wednesday.
Can you hand me that tablet there for my monitoring? Hey, this is Gary's Guitars Guitar Talk. We sit here and talk about guitars. I should have thought up a better intro thing.
That's the next phase.
Yeah, the next season.
The improved version.
Yeah. So as a parody of kind of car talk, you wasted another perfectly good hour talking about cars and guitars. Yeah. But for those of you who remember car talk, classic stuff.
I still hear the one that's still alive. The brother's still alive. He's just doing commercials.
He does.
Yeah. eBay Motors.
Yeah. He gets a lot of money for that, I think. So God bless him. And now that he's off the NPR bandwagon, he's making some money for a change. Yeah. But we're here to talk about guitars. So, how you all doing? Thanks for coming. All that good stuff. We're going to sit here talking about guitars. This is Mark. That's Gary. It's Gary's Guitars. These are Mark's guitars at Gary's Guitars.
Right.
And we're going to just talk about whatever you want to talk about. Guitars, accessories, guitar things. We got some topics to talk about. You can bring up some of your topics. We just hang out and talk.
We've never done gig stories.
Oh, gig stories.
There's so many of them. Everybody's got 100 of them.
Yeah, we have to pick out the best gig story, which is tough. I actually wanted to write a book about gig stories and call it the 13 Bar Blues. Have 13 chapters of 13 different, really hellacious gig stories. And either has to be fiction. It might be fiction, but fiction that culminates all of the worst aspects of So if you take, for example, if you take every Jason Crowley gig you've been on and turn it into one gig, that would be one really cool gig story.
I don't know if you would get through a whole song without a story.
Yeah. So Chris Lammy's here. Brendan, Michael Krause.
Hi, everybody.
John from New Jersey. Thanks for joining. So we say at the beginning, just to chime in, tell us you're out there, just so we know who we're talking to, and Mark P. Mark is spelled with a C, the correct way. Any thoughts on the PRS DGT? What's the DGT?
I don't know. Is it new?
You see a lot of PRSs.
Is it American? Is it one of that made in America from Korean parts?
Yeah.
Or is it a real PRS?
Well, the good news is all PRSs are all right?
Yeah.
You've never seen a bad PRS, even with the the $600 PRSs and stuff. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, one of the better $600 guitars.
It'd be pretty hilarious if the one we just got in was one of those. Hold on.
I think that's one of the Made in America from Asian parts ones. What's it called?
Yeah, we can't tell. It's a PRS. It's a 22. It kind of looks like a McCarty. It's got a stop tail, push pull. We got the serial number. We were just gonna call and ask. It's not on the wall yet. Oh, not that one. That's the Vela. The one that came in before.
Yeah, that's a 10 top.
Okay,
that's
10 top.
Okay. Yeah,
that's gonna cost you. Yeah. So we're not particularly familiar. Tell us, Mark, what is the DGT? Because that's not ringing a bell. And I know we're supposed to be experts, but Brian, we're experts about a lot of stuff, just not everything. Or was it? Mostly the vintage stuff. Brian in Melbourne, William in New Hampshire, David Grissom.
Who's that?
That's Mark. Mark said, "Hi guys, love the show. Any thoughts on PRS DGT?" And it said David Grissom. Does David Grissom play a PRS? That seems unlikely.
He plays mandolin, right?
It's a high-end PRS, right? Yeah. We do have a David Grissom story though. Speaking of I love to tell this story. As I told it here though. So we're in Gary's old store. I was there, just happened to be wasting time. And these two guys come in, and they're a guitar hound kind of guy when they just have a way of walking in the store, kind of looking at everything in a moment, and then they size stuff up. And so this guy comes in, he's really nice, and he's like, and I recognize him as Dave Grissom, but Gary didn't recognize him. So you had to talk to him for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, we chatted, and I finally said So, do you play guitar? He said, "Oh, I pick a little mandolin."
I pick a little, yeah. I pick a little. And he goes,
I
you
know
know,
this guy.
and he's like, my name's David. And Gary's like, yeah, thanks. Nice to meet you, Dave. I'm Gary. You know, and they shook hands and talked and left. And I was like, that was Dave Grissom, right? And he wanted to buy. Remember, you had a resonator tenor guitar that was all ruined on the wall.
Oh, right.
And he goes, well, what do you want for that? I goes, what? And Gary's like, no, that won't play. You don't want that. It's got high action. He's like, I don't mind high action. And Gary's like, no, you don't want that thing.
Well, there's a slight follow-up to that.
Okay.
Not that many years ago.
Grissom, not Grissom. Okay. Good, but keep going.
Bela Fleck and his significant other. I don't know if he's married or not. I knew they were playing at the music hall, and he walked in.
Oh, yeah.
And the Doc Johnson band, we'd actually opened up for them at the Ben and Jerry's Festival.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd seen him on stage.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's Bela Fleck. So they're walking there. So he comes over and, how you doing? Good. Do you sell cello strings? I went, oh, this isn't Bela Fleck. What does he want cello strings
for? Victor.
Well, then, yeah. Oh, Victor plays cello too. I didn't know that.
He does. In the show, he plays, he sits down and plays, a little acoustic, pizzicato cello. Right. Yeah.
So it happened sort of again. I didn't.
Well, this year we had Puddles the Clown came in.
Okay.
Have you seen Puddles Pity Party? Anyone out there?
No.
And Puddles came in.
Wow.
So this dude's like 7 feet tall, and he plays a little guitar and sings. He's dressed as a sad clown, and he sings in a baritone. And he's huge. He's huge on YouTube. Everyone out there, you've heard of Puddles. Anyways, he came in looking for just a Jim Dandy guitar. He goes,
right.
And he was talking to Jake. I didn't see him, and he was like, I buy one of these, and then after the show, I donate it to, I give it to some kids or something, And so Jake sold him a Jim Dandy, and he was like, "Am I speaking to Puddles?" And the guy's like, "Yeah," because he wasn't in the makeup. Right. Goes, yes, that's me. Yeah. So Puddles is awesome, according to Michael Krause. So there you go. Yeah.
I'll YouTube him.
So let's go back to the PRS. If it's a high-end PRS, that's the big question, because sometimes you're like, $4,000 PRS, maybe I want the Gibson. For $700 used, buy the PRS. Right?
I'm still trying to figure out what DGT means.
Well, he just said it was just a high-end. It's not David Grissom. It's a different David. It's David.
Well, it might be an artist model.
Grissom.
Somebody's
Grissom. Yeah. And that's the designation there. So PRS makes a lot of guitars, and it gets confusing if you're not a dealer, because every one that comes in is slightly, it's always like, oh, and then like that one, the one that Steven brought in, I was like, Jake, look this up and see what it's worth. And he's like, oh, it could be a 94, it could be a 2008. It was got this, but not that. He just spent some time on him. Like, you got to take some time off, man.
Yeah.
And so then, later in the day, I caught him Googling PRS stuff too. He's like, I gotta find this out. I got this itch. I gotta know.
Hit the image button and you'll find it eventually.
Well, you just do an image search. Yeah. Puddles does Elvis type a show and non-clown attire. Okay, so Puddles on. So look up Puddles. That's the big news here. Noel Harrison used to come in to Rod's store in the 80s. Yeah, Noel was actually...
he came in occasionally.
His son... I went to high school with his son. He lived in New York.
Right.
Yeah. You remember him?
I haven't seen him in years.
Because he moved to England.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah. Because his dad is big in England. So he thought, well, I could play Glastonbury if I just moved to England, which is because he played Glastonbury with his dad, or I can play, the coat of arms, whatever it was at the time, So, we got some high profile visitors once in a while. All right. So that's Mike who said that coming into Rod's store, just so you know, Mike's out there.
Hey, Mike.
All right. So we're off to a good start. Although we kind of failed on the first question. If you want to ask any questions about guitars, just go ahead and ask, and we'll figure it out. But yeah, it's just so hard to keep track of all the different PRSs. There must be,
Well, it's true of
50
many brands.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true too.
Ibanez, I think they I don't think they do it much anymore, but for years they'd have all these similar looking guitars with no model numbers on them.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
You'd have to find that exact one with whatever, and
Yeah.
it was always a pain.
Noel Harrison's father, Rex Harrison, invented rap.
I thought Captain Beefheart invented
He
rap.
sang without melody, so he just kind of, he talked his way through songs. So I think that was the very early.
That reminds me of a local guy's Leonard Cohen quote.
Yeah.
He's going to put Leonard Cohen songs to music.
Yeah.
Good idea.
All right. See where we're at. And every once in a while I get a little disconnected here, but yeah, no, we are up to date. So let's talk about your weird. So Gary stirred up some more. Last week we ended up talking quite a bit about just really weird stuff and bad inventions for guitar. And we got a couple more. Here's one now.
I mentioned this one last week, but I hadn't found it. The Strum Rose. Well, you can read it. On the back it says...
I'll bring it up a little
closer. I won't be able to read it.
Hold on, let me just show people.
Okay.
The ultimate guitar sound.
It's 1, 2... I think it's 6 different picks. You won't be able to see it because I don't want to open it.
Yeah.
Here's the quote. I love the uniqueness and the sounds that Strum Rose creates. This changes everything. Invention is not dead. Richie Havens.
Richie Havens, who didn't use a pick, did he? Oh, no, he did use a pick.
Yeah. It's designed for all levels of guitar playing, be it funk, blues, rock, country, or reggae. Turn your 6-string into a 12-string extravaganza.
Mm-hmm. Richie Havens' guitar was in your store. Was he in the store? Remember one day walking into in the old store again, and Chris Perns standing there over his bench smoking a cigarette. With he always used to have that like big long ash at the end of the cigarette, leaning over that that gill that you. And I'm like, is that the guitar I think it is? He goes, yeah. Yep. So it came in for just either a slight repair or restring and adjustment kind of thing. Yeah.
I forget it. I don't think Richie brought it. Well, maybe he did. I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Or if I met him, I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, Gary just can't recognize stars.
I found in my collection maybe a very early guitar capo.
Yeah.
Cork. I think I remember trying it and it didn't work.
Yeah. No radius for sure, but also it just isn't. I mean, I had one of these as a child, maybe. Yeah, it just. It's just, yeah.
But my favorite thing, which I thought I'd lost, I have a View Pitch guitar tuner.
Let's get that closer too.
As far as I can reach. And if you see, it has 6 little tangs. My thinking is it comes from harmonica technology. So you clamp it on your headstock. You pluck your E string, and that E tine will vibrate. When you tune it, it'll stop. So you can tune your guitar without hearing it. It's visual.
It's a very early clip-on guitar tuner.
Yep. Unfortunately, it doesn't work very well.
No, yeah. Unfortunately, it was a terrible idea.
Tested it the other day. I clamped it on, and I put a snark next to it.
Yeah.
And I could get them mostly to stop moving, but it was never more than half a step off. But none of them were actually right in tune either.
Interesting.
So I'm guessing 70s, 60s, 70s. I'm not sure. I found it in a guitar case many years ago. So some more weird guitar stuff.
Michael asked, what Vela and how much? So I guess we got to answer that question.
$12.99.
$12.99. 25 frets? This is 25. Well, 25 inch.
Yeah. Looks brand new.
Yeah, in like new condition.
Locking tuners, push-pull pod, no tremolo.
No tremolo. It's got this kind of Gretchy thing. What would you call that for a pickup? It's one of those P90s that There's something
I
to it.
think it's got, well,
And a humbucker.
it's a
And the humbucker
humbucker.
side. And that's humbucking, yeah.
Oh, no, these screws probably adjust the pole pieces.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
a little lever system that somebody else used to do. Gretsch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Semi-hollow body. F-hole.
And
Blue.
does it say made in the United States?
Does it say made in the United States? It
No.
doesn't, but
I think that line is some of the Asian parts built in Virginia or something.
yeah.
Line.
Could be Indonesia. Why is it that the Indonesians make such nice set neck guitars? Have you ever noticed that? Like those Fenders from Indonesia are great.
Yeah, generally, yeah. I remember the first, like all the Asian stuff, the first Indonesian guitars were awful, and now they're pretty good at it. My neighbor is Indonesian. Next time I see her out in the yard, I'll ask her, what's up with guitars in Indonesia?
Mini Filtertron 90? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
That sounds like it
Filtertron
describes
from
everything.
Gretsch,
Yeah.
P90.
P90 kind of thing. Worst guitar innovation of all time, the 6 to 12 convertible comb. That was on the Rickenbacker, remember? You could pin 6 of the strings down.
Right.
I think George Harrison had one of those for a while. That was in the in his collection. But yes, I kind of believe that. Anyone else with terrible guitar innovations, we can bring that.
I can't even imagine that it would work well. I don't think I've ever had my hands on one, but
because you would just go across those strings too. Yeah.
Well, or something.
Barry H is a big Noel Harrison fan. So he's passed away now.
Oh, Noel has?
Yeah, Will Harrison, that's his son.
Oh, okay.
And Will did toward the end of Noel's life. Will and Noel used to play together over in the London area. But what was his hit? He had a big hit, right?
Noel Harrison?
Yeah. Somebody out there, what was Noel Harrison's big hit?
1970s, kind of theater sounding.
Very theatrical, but but he's, rocked a little bit,
Right.
Yeah.
Something about flowers, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
I'm almost remembering it.
Yeah. Windmills of Your Mind. That was a big one, yeah.
Something about windmills.
something in Holland. Windmills or flowers. Those are the two, tulips and windmills. All right. I think that brings us up to date with the room. Any other crazy inventions? No, that's all your crazy stuff to
I might dig up some more. I have a couple more boxes I haven't dug into lately. I was looking for something else. I said, it's here somewhere. And I just started pulling these cardboard boxes out from under my bench and toolboxes. And, there's the Stromros.
Well, speaking of bad tuners, that Chet Atkins amp has... so we have a Gretsch Chet Atkins amp that has a tuning fork kind of thing.
Right.
It does tones for you to tune to, and I think it has more than just E. I think it has all 6 of them.
There was a Vox amp that just had E or A.
Yeah, there was one amp that would have just an A, just trying to be like just constant. Yeah,
endlessly useful to me. We just turn it on in a song and
it's in the key of A and just walk away, go get a drink. Yeah.
Oh, and they just start playing all through the song.
Yeah, just have like a drone note to play too. Yeah, actually, you should do that anyway.
Right, but tuning to it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, that's one thing that has come a long way are tuners.
Right. Yeah. Nobody says close enough for rock and roll anymore. That was what we used to always say. Are you in tune? Close enough for rock and roll.
Yeah. And the Tom Schultz Power Soak, which killed your Marshall guarantee. Yes.
But then they came out with the Marshall Power Break.
Marshall
did the same thing.
Yeah, Marshall now makes the Power Break. I mean, they made it again. It's so very popular to attenuate your output, but they made one that will not destroy your amp. So because it is, think good about output attenuation because you're taking, you're. It's like making sausage. If you cram too much meat into the sausage grinder, it's going to just seize up. Something bad's going to happen. You're going to back up or something. I don't know.
You burn through your tubes in a fraction of the time.
Just that.
They're going full blast
always
all the time.
Blasting, that's for sure, too. What was Tom Schultz made the Rockman, which is I would play a rock. I'd have one if one was around. It's a unique sound for
Yeah,
sure.
it was fine as a practice tool, but
Yeah,
the Tom Schultz sound got really tiring after a while.
Yeah, super overdriven kind of
Like,
thing.
for a while, everybody was recording through a Rockman. It's like,
Yeah.
right already with the Schultz
With the
tone.
Boston, yeah, right, yeah. You know why Boston named their second album "Don't Look Back"?
No.
Because if you look back, you'd see it was the same songs as the first album, just slightly reworked. That's my only Boston joke.
He found a niche, and he did really well
Yeah.
with it for a few years there.
Recently, there was a 12-string conversion thing that was actually 6 extra strings attached to your guitar.
Well, that defines a 12-string.
Yeah, I guess if you change the tuners to be like kind of some kind of tuner that you could put 2 strings on, and some way to do the bridge, and you could convert a regular guitar into a 12-string. Or
I want to say somebody had a bridge. Huh. A bridge to go on your electric, so the 6 strings, tuned them down here, fine tuner bridge.
Oh yeah, right, yeah, and the other, yeah, that sounds familiar too. Yeah,
that was short-lived, if I'm even accurate about that. Crazy things you see over 30 years.
Well, we're selling this Eastwood 12-string. Speaking of crazy things, and I don't want to down talk it because we're selling it, but it does this thing where you can put 2. It's got a 6-piece tailpiece, and you got to jam 2 strings into each hole. That's just Eastwood. What are you doing? All Eastwood guitars, they look great.
Yep.
They sound okay, and they play.
I'm sticking by my initial impression from 10 years ago. Somebody brought in a Eastwood Supro copy or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And on the bench, that's okay. Mm-hmm. But boy, it looks great. What's it? Would you pay like $200-$300 for this?
Yeah.
No, that was $699. No. Well, it's a really nice $300 guitar. That's all
used. It's a great fact. If you want a 12-string and it works and it's used, but it's like someone made it from looking at pictures of cool guitars. They didn't actually measure the guitar. They kind of. 12-string. I actually own 3 12-string guitars. I was explaining this to someone recently.
I never owned one. I used to have a friend with the great Guild 412, or was it the 212? I always get them mixed up. The best 12-string ever made. And every once in a while, I'd need a 12-string, and I'd borrow it from him.
Well, this is a handy thing when we're talking 12 strings. Tom Rush was in here. Speaking of speaking of musical legends, the folk singing, rockin', bluesing legend, Tom Rush,
who introduced Joni Mitchell to the world.
There you go, and
give him
Jackson
that.
Browne, you gotta give him that, yeah.
Right.
He's still playing. He's 80-something now. Still out there touring, doing Facebook shows during the pandemic and all that. As sharp as can be. Nice guy. He comes in here because he lives nearby. And one day he came in with his Guild that he's had forever. And I was like, whoa, this thing's, and it's got all the Guild problems.
Yeah.
It's got the sunken top, the bridge rotation, the neck angle problem. But sometimes, kind of like that Guild D30 over there, if all those things happen just right, it still plays great.
Right.
And they kind of stay like that forever. I mean, that guitar has been in that shape because I know the former owner of that guitar.
Yeah,
that guitar's been like that since the mid-90s.
Yeah, that's when I first saw it.
Yeah, it's fine. It ain't going nowhere. So I was like, oh wow. But what he revealed to me, which I'm going to help you with, is he uses silken steel 12-string strings. He goes, I have to use silken steel 12-string strings on this guitar because it can't take regular strings.
Right.
And well, first I was like, oh my God, is that tuned up to pitch? I was like trying to I was blocking my eyes in case the bridge just came flying off in front of me. And he's like, no, yeah, that's tuned up to pitch. I'm like, whoa, you're a brave man. And silken steel is the difference. So I put them on my Harmony 12-string. Great. Yep. Just low tension, nice brushy, breezy sound.
Tom told me an interesting
I recommend them.
guitar story. The first time I met him when he came in, he reappeared around here 5-6 years ago, maybe. Yep. Came in looking for a shipping box. And I sort of recognized him, but the picture I'm familiar with, he
When
was
he's much
21
younger.
years old. But he introduced himself and, oh yeah, nice to meet you, blah blah blah. We talked about New Hampshire, the folk scene over the years a bit. And I said, what do you need a shipping box for? So I got to ship my guitar back to get it fixed back to California. And I said, well, there's people around here. So no, I'm going to ship it back to the guy who built it. I said, wait a minute, you bought this guitar in 1968 from the builder. He's still alive.
He's still alive, and
you can ship it to him.
He's going to work on it.
Like every 10, 15 years, I ship it back and you go re-glues, whatever.
That's the lady, something lady, that guitar.
Something like that.
That's what he called, because I've seen that. I think that's been here once or twice. But also, he happens to be my neighbor. So I was like talking to someone. And I'm like, oh, I got to stop at Tom. I don't know. I got to get this guitar back to Tom Rush. And they're like, what? Tom Rush? What do you like? And I was just, he lives across the street.
Right.
So, so I guess when you have a folk legend across the street, it's not that big a deal. In at halftime, William said, oh yeah, it's halftime already. It's the halftime show.
Oh, yes.
So I got to do the callback. This is Garrett's Guitars Guitar Talk. We just sit here talking about guitar stuff. Anything you want to talk about, put in the comments. If you want to join the conversation and help us out too, because we're just guessing some stuff. But right now we're talking about 12 strings and cool old guilds, and I might take that guild down and show it to the people. How about that?
It's
Let's do that. Yes.
You don't see this electric pickup system very often.
Yes. So
that's what they did back then.
It was an attempt. Here it is. So this is a Guild
D35?
40.
D40. The 40.
And it's been played quite this is 72. It belonged to Duke Levine.
Levine.
Yeah, Duke Levine. Nope, not the other Duke.
One of the Dukes from New England.
Legendary Boston-based guitarist, whose brother was the guy from Lark Street Music, is also Levine. What was his name? He passed away, I think.
I don't know.
No, you remember Lark Street Music? They're always advertised
in New York.
Yeah, in New York. Yeah. Buddies. Anyways, it's got history. This pickup is this pickup has been disconnected by the previous owner because he was like, sounds like crap, I don't want it. And then he put it under the saddle end and a modern jack right here. But the parts are still there, and it could assumably be reconnected, but we were assured that it didn't sound too good. It's just a really basic, it's kind of like the Dean Markley coil. These pole pieces, it's a magnetic pickup, but these pole pieces are ornamental. You see some of them falling out. They don't actually go anywhere. They just kind of made it look like a 6-piece. It's quite it's difficult to tell. It's got a dark, warm sound. Not bright, but dark and warm. It's got a replacement bridge, and it has that top sag I was talking about. And I'll see if the camera can express this. It's got a little top sag right around the sound hole, but that coupled with the neck moving a little and the bridge moving a little, it just plays really well. And like I said, I can assure you this has been like this since the mid-90s when I first saw that previous owner with it. It's got Grover tuners on it. So it's been through a lot, but it's got some miles left on it, and it's here for sale
for $8.99.
$8.99, made in the USA Guild.
50 years old.
Yeah, just about. Yeah. So, thank you.
Sounds like a good price.
I think so. Someone buy this thing. Someone buy some guitars. We have an excess of guitars right now. And I guess sometimes we talk about the guitar market, and guitar sales have slowed. It's not terrible for us because guitar sales are only part of our business. We do a lot of service, do a lot of accessories.
Yeah, that hasn't slowed,
and that's picked up in recent years, so that's good for you.
Could be relative to the pandemic year and a half, where
guitar sales were flying out the door. But things have really ramped down a bit.
Normal again.
How
many guitars a week are moving out of here now?
I don't know. It's anywhere between 1 and 5. It's like like I was saying this to Emma earlier, we have not sold a Strat in nearly 2 months.
Really?
I don't think a Strat. So plenty of tellies, so
Yeah,
plenty of
I sold
guitars.
some tellies
But we got a
recently.
bunch of Strats, and we got some really nice Strats. We got the made in Japan Strat. We got that.
I sold the Austin Strat a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
That didn't count.
yeah. That's not
A
a
real
Strat.
Strat.
Fender Strat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in the pandemic, there were days 3, 4, 5 guitars a day.
Yeah. It's just Christmas time all year long. So yeah, that couldn't have kept up as much. But all right, let me just check in here. Hello from Nottingham. Which Nottingham? We have a Nottingham, New Hampshire. There's definitely a Nottingham in England. And so let us know which. Cruelly Cruel. Chipson LP Custom found in garbage, stripped of pickups, bridge, and tailpiece.
What was the
Structure
first word you
looks
said?
okay. Okay, structure looks okay. It's a Chibson, the Chinese-made Gibson copy.
Chips.
Thoughts? Not looking to invest anything into it. An expensive bridge, etc. Any expensive bridge. Don't. The reason someone stripped it was no good. So it's got another problem. Probably is a bad neck or something. And someone's like, well, I can take all the parts off and get, just have it in my parts box.
Put it back in the dumpster.
Yep. Goes in the dumpster. Yeah. That's you found it where you took it from its natural habitat. So you have to return it to its habitat.
Well, we don't see many of those anymore. I think they finally
Chipsons,
smartened up.
Well, they did crack down on the importation of the decent ones because they were really similar. But there's also those Chinese-made Gibson copies.
Firefly, those are
really popular.
Okay, for $200, you can make them work. Really cheap hardware, but those original Chinese Gibsons were awful.
Yeah. And if you ever, we've had a few people come in. It's called the Chickenbacher, the Rickenbacker that's Chinese made. Don't do it. We've had a couple of them come through here. They are really. I mean, first of all, the Rickenbacker should not work. It's a poorly designed guitar. I think it has positive neck set, like from the factory.
Yeah, certainly not designed for repairs.
I mean, negative neck set. The neck set going the wrong way. When you put them all together and they play them, they sound great, but they are, just made like a motorcycle or something, But don't buy a regular Rickenbacker is a problem. A cheap copy of a Rickenbacker, don't do it. All right, let's. Nottingham, England. Okay, that makes a little more sense, I guess, because that's a little more impressive to us.
Not many people live in Nottingham, New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's not really a. Let me find this. And certain companies are panicking and discounting stuff. Oh yeah, so we're talking about Fender's having sales for the first time in over 2 years.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they've had little sales. Just 30. Most of the Squire, they've overstocked on Squires like crazy.
Right.
Because they had to order all that stuff 6 months in advance, so they got flamed hard with the Squires. I recently saw an internet ad for handheld motorized guitar tuner. How lame is that? Do people actually come into your store asking for something like that? We actually sold something like that. Remember that Fender made one, I think. Oh no, it wasn't Fender, but look at a name that it looked like a guitar peg winder.
Yeah,
you put it on and it tunes it.
Tune it to E or something.
No. Bad idea. Curious, I have a 335. I'd like to rewire to a preference of 50s or 60s or modern vintage wire layout. Going to add some mini switches for series parallel. So yeah, you're the wirer. It's a 335. Wants to rewire it.
Yeah.
How should he?
60s.
50 style, 60 style.
I'm not totally clear on that, but the one thing that I do, and I just did for somebody last week, is take the hot output from the pickup from the outside lug to the middle lug. So when you have both pickups on and you turn one volume control down, it doesn't turn off the other pickup.
Yeah.
Which, to me is the way to do it.
Yeah, it's not the traditional way.
Because
but,
everybody that gets a Les Paul for the first time comes back a week later and something's wrong. When I turn this one turns off. I said, well, that's because that's the way Gibson wires them.
Yeah.
And I can switch those two wires So I don't know if that's old versus new, but because
Yeah.
I don't see enough 50s Les Pauls to know.
Yeah, right. We haven't seen the 50s Les Pauls in a little while.
Maybe they were wired that way back then,
Yeah.
and now they're not. But that's, to me, that's the one that makes sense. But
Well,
you do kind of lose the helicopter thing.
the helicopter thing.
Yeah, you turn one volume down. And,
Oh yeah, to get that.
Pete Townsend used to do it all the time.
With the switch. Yeah,
you can still do it.
the interrupter switch.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know what difference there could be. The wiring's not that complicated.
Yeah.
And was something about caps?
I didn't ask about caps. What do you think about any cap opinions you want to give out right now? Mini switches, you said, for series parallel.
Well, I do it with a push pull pod.
Yeah. No, you don't do
have
it
to drill a
drilling.
hole.
No, that's a good point.
Most people that I know try parallel and go back to series. It's louder, but it doesn't sound as good. It's a general consensus.
Mm-hmm. That's how the jazz bass was wired. Okay, I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, jazz bass wires to the center lug.
Yeah. Let's make sure I'm caught up with everything here. So rewire. I would say I would say find someone who upgraded their Epiphone, or kill it with fire. Yeah. So if you're looking for a bunch of parts, just find someone who ripped everything off an Epiphone and take the part. But this is back to someone wondering whether they should rebuild the chips. It's basically with the cost of home heating oil right now, burning that guitar will be the best use of your money. That thing will go up with the lacquer that's on there.
Got some BTUs.
That's got some BTUs. It's probably a hardwood. Make sure you get the fire going first. Saw off the neck or break it off. You're going to want to smash it.
Back in the, I don't know when Ed started, 60s and 70s, there was a fiddle store in Portsmouth.
Oh, yeah.
Next at Daigle's place. Heated it with a potbelly stove. Sold fiddles mostly. Some other instruments. And one day, it was just after Christmas, an elderly woman came in. We bought this violin for my granddaughter, and there's something wrong with it. And could we return it? And Ed takes it, looks at it. Oh, yeah, I see the problem. Snaps it in half, throws it in the wood stove.
Gives him another one.
I think she
is
almost hit the floor.
But yeah, that's the best use I can think of that chips, and is just you could heat your house for a whole day. And I burned a piano once in a wood stove.
You chopped it up first.
I chopped it up, of course. Yeah, that'd be a pretty big wood stove. But there was a piano that ruined at Ray's place, and so I used a chainsaw.
Yeah,
I was going to use a sawzall, but I'm like, no, I'll just use a chainsaw. So I had to take that hard part out. Of course, that was the hard part. Right. But and then the remainder was just wood. Chopped it up, and it was covered. It was lacquered, and then someone painted over the lacquer, so paint and lacquer, so it went up like crazy, and that kept me warm for
you're going to take a piano apart. I was told this by a friend in high school.
Detune it first.
Detune it first before you loosen the bolts on the soundboard, because it can snap in half and probably chop you in half.
I burnt a piano once too.
In live,
sitting right there. So there's a foundry down the street from where I used to live, and I was like, hey, you guys want to you want this, the piano's got like a bunch of iron in it, you want the metal, because it was a ruined piano,
right.
And they're like, I was like, we can burn it at a party, let's have a party, we'll burn the piano,
what's
and then
left you can have.
And he goes, sounds great. So they came over because they were near enough. They came over with a forklift, loader with a tractor with a forklift on it. Picked it up, brought it over to their place, and we had a party and lit that thing on fire. It was great. And then what I found is, as it burned, as I was throwing rocks at it, and as it was heating up, the strings were detuning. So it'd be like boo, boo, boo. So only for about 20 minutes was it up to pitch still, but I was playing it by throwing rocks at it.
Is that where you got all those pieces of ivory?
I do, yeah. I have a lot. Actually, yeah. So I have ivory that I use for shims, because this is the way I look at it. If an elephant had to die for it anyway, and it's bone, it's the most disrespectful thing is to throw out the ivory.
Right.
Because somebody killed. I mean, so yes, ivory is bad, and we know that. But an elephant did die, and someone killed that elephant. So why not save the ivory and just repurpose it for something?
Yeah,
and,
nut shims and stuff.
Yeah, nut shims and saddle shims because it's bone. And
I remember you had like a box of
yeah, I got a bunch of it still from just because sometimes I would de-ivory pianos and put. I worked doing piano repair at one time. I would de-ivory the pianos and then put plastic, what they call ivorine, just fake ivory plastic tops on them. Yeah. And that was a thing. All right, let me catch up with the room here. Chips. There's a guitar Yule log video out there. All cheap guitars roasting on open fire. Yeah, I have about 4 guitars that I'm going to go to a bonfire someday with these guitars and light them on fire.
I used to, for 7 or 8 years, Kent Allen would have his annual birthday bonfire in February, and I would save up junk guitars. And he built this 12-foot tall cone of wood and pallets, and I'd just hang some guitars off from branches and things sticking out. And then we'd eat, and then we'd light the fire, and it never failed. Somebody would come walking over to me with one of the guitars. You can't burn this. Why not? Well, it's a guitar. I said, yeah, it's a dead guitar. Well, can't you fix it? Well, yeah, but it's not worth fixing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But you can't burn it. Well, yes, we can.
Yeah, of course we can. Yeah. Oh, can we? We will. Yeah.
And,
It's
you placed them strategically. It was like the highlight of the fire. The fire would get going, and all of a sudden, guitar would take up. Flames coming out of the sound hole.
Yeah, well, that's good. I gotta keep that in mind.
And one winter, my daughter and her friend gave them one of the guitars, and next thing we know, they're sliding down a hill of snow, sitting on the guitar. Somebody said, "That's who invented slide guitar."
The slide guitar.
Yeah.
In Hawaii, of all places. Canoe paddles. Yeah, that's another good thing. You can use a jump guitar.
Other uses for guitars.
Dave from NH. Any opinions on a Marshall Studio Series amps? I just got the 20-watt baby Plexi one. We sold one here. It was great.
Was that a combo?
That was it was just a little head on top of the 212
from Mike.
Yeah, that came from Mike. Yeah.
Oh, that was a great amp.
I think it was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just it really had the Plexi sound. It's 20 watts, so it's not too overwhelming.
Right.
But you could sound like AC/DC, and you drove like a Plexi too. You had to drive it with a treble or something like it was to get the right sound. It had weird controls on it, but I think they're great. Yeah.
212 cab.
Yep.
Sounded like the real deal.
Yeah, it sounded like a real Marshall on a 412 cab, but it's just a 212 cab and a 20-watt Marshall.
Yeah, we
good
like it.
On Marshall. Marshall's been screwing some stuff up lately for sure. Those do not buy a DSL series Marshall. I'm sorry to say, Paul has been tearing what's left of his hair out, working on those things. They are no fun. We've had to pronounce one of them dead.
Big, massive PC boards and.
Just hard to work on, but they're prone to overheating. They put they're designed poorly. They have a closed back, I think, with a little ventilator thing, and they just overheat.
There's no real ventilation.
Yeah, the ventilation's wrong. They're just they eat tubes. Stay away from that. But this Marshall Studio, right on. I think it's a good thing. Sounded great, worked great. So I used Chipsons at our last shows, and this is Chris Lammy, who was in the Jabbers. So that's why, because I didn't care if they got destroyed.
I suppose if you're going to burn a guitar at a show, get one of those.
But with the half stacks, we get toppled over, and if you're
you probably get you through one night.
You could throw it into the mosh pit at the end of the show. If someone wants to trade in guitars toward a purchase at a retail store, what's the % of the retail value that the trade in which you'd be fair to expect?
It's different with every store.
Stores have different policies. Ours is almost easy, but also depends. So generally speaking, we like to come in around 60-something %. We do the math.
Yeah.
So from 60 to 66, I'd say.
Yeah.
So
If it's pristine,
if it's pristine and we
highly
know it can
desirable.
sell, if it's a Gibson 335, we can pay you 70% for it because we know that will sell in a week.
Right.
And so all we gotta do is pay the credit card fees on it and keep the lights on, and that's But sometimes we gotta be like, you know what, this we don't necessarily want to own this thing, so we're only gonna offer you 50%, or I would say that is on the generous side.
Yeah, there was a period there. I started out with that 60 to 70%. But then people kept coming in saying, offering whatever, 60%, $200. They go, really?
Yeah, right.
Daddy's was going to give me 75.
Yeah. Daddy's was doing 33% at one time. Guitar Center does 50. Guitar Center is now paying more. They're paying more like 60, but they were paying 50 on trade-ins for the longest time. I think they've actually, because it's harder to get older guitars in the store and they know it. So yeah, it used to be that I'll give you $100, kid, get out of here, But so that's what we do on trades.
My best advice, and I think you summarized it once: whoever comes up with the price first loses.
Yep.
Yeah. So don't go in and say what you want. Make them give you a price.
Yeah. So that's my negotiating tactic that someone told me, and if two people have a price in mind, I know my price, you know your price. If I tell you my price, then you know your price and you know my price. Right. I've lost.
Yeah.
So hold out as long as you can to say. And sometimes I would say to someone like, well, what do you want to get for? Because if someone comes in with a made in Mexico Fender, Telecaster, they may have bought it used for $250 back when that's what they cost.
Right.
So am I going to offer them $400 and try to sell it for $599? No. So I'm like, well, so you got to get to the idea of what that person's, what the number in that person's mind is. Because the other thing is, if you see us selling something cheaply, like that Gibson, that Guild that we were just showing you earlier, if we buy it cheap, we can sell it cheap. We don't, we're not trying to.
People still ask all the time, how do you come up with your prices? Depends on what we paid for it.
Yeah, some of that's that too. Yeah,
if we got it on sale, then
you get it
on sale.
Yeah. Or if we have a whatever a PRS for like a fair but real price, it's because that's how it works out. So sometimes the price is the price, but we don't mind selling things cheaper than the street price if we can get it cheap. And
right.
And
I think my favorite all-time story was Chris Grassi at a store up in Gray, Maine, vintagey store, small. But, this was probably in the 90s. Told me the story. This old guy came in last week, put on the counter a 1926 whatever real Lloyd Loar mandolin. Said, I paid $89 for that brand new. I won't take a penny less. Chris looked at it, said, I'll give you $500 for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Guy was tickled. Chris made a phone call to the guy in New York he knew, who gave Chris maybe $5,000.
Yeah, and then he sold it
to a customer who had $10,000 or $12,000 at the time, because that's what they were really worth. Chris said everybody was happy.
Well, this is the story of how I got my Gibson mandolin. Someone pulled up their minivan to the door, opened the door, and just barely walked in and said, I'm on my way to the dump. Do you want any of this stuff? And I was like, yeah, I'll look at it, sure. And it was, some stuff belonged in the dump. But amongst those was a case that I knew was a Gibson mandolin case. I opened it up. It was in pieces. But I was like, well, I'll give you, and I gave her like $600 or something. But, a lot less than it was worth. And we got Peter to fix it for us. Peter, the guy who works for us. I didn't know I could fix it at the time. I mean, I guessed I could, but it was really, gnarled up. But anyways, that's you got to don't show your hand too early in the negotiation. Right. Like saying, I'm on my way to the dump with this crap. Yeah, that's not a good negotiating technique.
Right.
Or demanding that price. That was how I got I told this story recently. You were on vacation, I think. Mm-hmm. And so it's middle of summer, not much happened in the store. Wayne from Maine, Wayne comes in with a buddy, and he's like helping his buddy, sell this amp. Sets it down right over there, and it was my Vox Cambridge amp.
Wow.
And he goes, and I think they were just at Daddy's, and Daddy's offered them,
$53.
Yeah.
Right.
They came in, he sets it down, he goes, we want $125 for this amp, and we're not taking a penny less.
You said, okay.
Yeah, I said, okay. I looked at it, had a ripped speaker, his missing knob. I was like, you drive a hard bargain, but it's just gonna, because Jim Tierney already had one of those amps, and I knew it was good.
Yeah.
So and I still have it. It's still one of my best amps, the Vox Cambridge.
Yeah.
Made in California by the Thomas Organ,
right?
Yeah, combo. Made, and so when the Vox craze happened, Thomas Organ, I think, eventually bought Vox.
They were the American distributor.
They were the American manufacturer of Vox amps for a while, because this was made by Thomas Organ under license, because Vox couldn't make, after the Beatles hit, Vox couldn't make enough amps.
Right.
But I think they ended up buying Vox when Vox was in trouble or something.
I think so.
You can Google that, I suppose, after this is over. Don't Google now. Come on, folks, stay out there. Let me see if those studio series are very pricey for the build quality. I suppose I wasn't inside of it. I can't remember being inside the
studio series?
The studio series Marshall that what we were just talking about.
Yeah, it was used. Got $2,000 for it with the 212.
Yeah, nearly. Yeah,
so
with the 212.
Cheap,
yeah.
but
and whatever modern build. But it had the sound. Let's say that for sure.
Yeah.
And compared to the when you say build quality, I think design. I mean, having looked at it and tried it out and having used it and had it, I think the design quality was all right. It wasn't built like an old Marshall, but it wasn't. So that DSL series, just too much stuff stuffed into a little thing and no ventilation and just bad quality transformer. Just like no, sorry. And Marshall has ruined Ampeg.
Ampeg's like disappeared.
Oh no, they made that new rocket base thing, and they're blowing up. We've had 2 of them come in as defective recently for repairs.
Well, I mean, there always be a few used Ampegs around.
Yeah,
because somebody nearby was a dealer and they were selling a lot. Now nobody's a dealer. And
yeah. Well, so the other thing about the Ampegs now is that they're owned by Marshall. It's a brand they bought up. They're making this thing called the Rocket Bass, which is their version of the Fender Rumble, essentially. Little Class D bass amp that sounds good. But I think they're having quality issues. And, not feeling good about that, Marshall. Thomas Organ Baldwin. Okay, so that would be the Baldwin owned Thomas Organ, or the other way around. Fair price for a Fender Supersonic, used, very clean, low use. Recent Supersonic? Is that what you're talking about? The did we have one of those recently? Supersonic.
The Strat with the 2 P90s. They did in the 70s briefly. And
here's this is the new ones that made under the Squire name. And I don't think they're making a Fender Super. So here's a Squire Supersonic, and we're selling it new with a bag for $459. What the old ones are worth, I'm gonna guess twice that. if it's a made in the USA Fender, which these might not have been. Now that I think about the Supersonic, the original Supersonic.
70s? That far?
No, 80s, I think. Was it?
Okay. What was that one we had? It was a Robin Ford model, but
it was before it was the Robin Ford model. The Fender, it was a set neck, 2 P90s, the Flame.
That's what it was called.
The Fender Flame.
Wow,
really nice.
Yeah, that was.
Maybe we sold that too cheap for sure too, but we got it. A guy came in, traded it. He was happy. We were happy. So, and then someone got happy. Everyone was happy.
Right.
Used very clean. So if it's the USA Fender branded Supersonic, when we go to find those those very specific guitar values, checking on eBay and Reverb in their here's the important part. It has to be the completed listings.
Right.
And here on YouTube, I show people how to do this on both Reverb and on
Reverb has their price guide.
But you can also look at recently completed listings. That really gives you the street price. what gets me is when people walk in, I see these going for $2,000 online.
No, you don't.
Like, no, they don't go for $2,000. People ask $2,000, but if these guitars, this is not a guitar collection. This is a guitar store. We got to get these things out of here.
Just somebody gave me their old. It's a '67 B25 Gibson.
Oh yeah.
Smaller flat top. She's going to sell it.
Yep.
So it needs a little work. I started doing that. In the meantime, I looked it up. People are asking. One sold for like $1,200.
Yeah.
Or, but the range was like $1,200 to $4,900.
Huh. Yeah.
63, 64, 67, whatever.
Yeah.
But what they're actually selling for is probably a fraction of that.
Yep. They're selling for 12 to we sold one for 14.
That's what a guitar is worth, is what somebody will pay
what
for.
It actually sells for, yeah. But a Bedrock head from your shop around a dozen years ago. Okay, maybe more. If you're a Bedrock head,
Bedrock.
Dave said he bought them. So if you are remembering something you bought, take the number of years ago you think you bought it and multiply that by 2. So you're like, how long you had this? 5 years. It's actually 10 years.
Right.
And if you think you bought this Bedrock head 12 years ago, you probably bought it 24 years ago when you were a Bedrock dealer.
Right. Yeah. Or, well, we sold a lot of used ones. But when I kept the card file, which had the dates of pretty much every guitar and amp that came through here, never failed because I guarantee 70% trade it, as long as it's not broken or something. So people go, I bought this just a few years ago. And, I paid $800 for it. So, well, let me look it up. You bought it 16 years ago and you paid $300 for it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not getting 70% of 800. I'm sorry.
So it's Bedrock. Oh, so I get this back to it. A dozen years ago, whatever happened to those guys? What happened to the Bedrock guys?
I know the story.
Right.
Because what's his name? Lived in Newington.
Yeah.
Well, I won't go to the entire Bedrock story, but the end came when Guild, Rickenbacker, and somebody else. Can't remember. There were 3 companies. Bedrock was just getting on the map.
Yeah.
Starting to have some national sales. These 3 companies went to Bedrock and said, we want to introduce our own amp line at the NAMM show next year.
Okay,
in January. And we'd like you to do, design some amps for us, build us some samples.
Yeah.
And they're like, cool, we'll do that. But they're still, getting by on a shoestring. Little factory in whatever, Massachusetts. Basically hand-making amps that don't sell for a lot of money. Anyways, they came up with 3 or 4 or 5 different amps for these guys, made them, enough to take to the NAMM show and show them off, and invested basically all their money into it.
Yeah, right.
All 3 of them said, we changed our minds. We're not going to get into amplifiers.
And we're not even giving you the ones back that
I don't know if they were
going
going back. And that was basically it. They struggled on for another year or 2.
Close them down.
Just couldn't get back on their feet.
But also, weren't they re-Tolexing amps because they were just really good? Someone there was really good at Tolexing, so for years they were the people to re-Tolex an amp.
Right. Not going to make a lot of money on that. But as far as I know, that was the end of Bedrock.
Bedrocks are really good.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I know a number of people that still love their Bedrocks.
Is it the golden age of inexpensive guitars?
Probably.
Yep. Yeah. These days I would define that $700 or less. Yep. You could buy any guitar and play a show with it. Buy any guitar, it will play in tune and work and all those things your guitar didn't do in the 80s. Like even a $199 Fender Bullet. Fine. You could buy the Fender Bullet here and take it to the show tonight, play the whole show, even with the crappy Fender strings on it, it would be fine.
Right.
I crap on Fender strings, but we're a dealer, so I don't want to be too. But
I think it's a computer CAD CAM stuff.
The CAD assisted stuff, the design you know, all the information's everywhere. No one like has to
Right.
think, you know, other than Eastwood, who just makes guitars like they saw them in a picture.
Well, I mean,
But yeah,
they're just overpriced. I mean,
no, it's got a.
they're
So
still
that
fine
Eastwood has a
if they were half
beefy
the
neck,
price.
probably because they saw Harmony with a beefy neck and thought this is how we have to do it.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a golden age for cheap guitars because what else could you buy for $300 and play it for the rest of your life and give to your grandkids and
Make
and
money
using it? Yeah.
Meet
Have
girls,
fun,
and
meet girls or guys or whoever you want to
whatever.
meet. Yeah.
Meet people.
So
all
I
kinds of
always tell people playing in bands for years, like I go on a Saturday night, I eat and drink and have fun, and
You
I
get
come
paid.
home with $100. You go out, eat and drink, have fun, and you come home with $100 less than you went out with.
That's why they call it playing.
Yeah.
You
Playing
don't
music,
go
yeah.
to the press room and work.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You go there and play.
Yeah, exactly. Woo-hoo. So even though it's not a lot of money, even though a gig is essentially paid $100, my first professional gig paid $100
Well, you got
in
spoiled.
1989,
but
and now they still pay $100.
Right.
But one of the Bedrock guys is now Jetter pedals.
well,
Okay, yeah. That is true. All right, so you've done it again. You wasted another perfectly good hour watching Guitar Talk. Thanks for joining us. Look up the other videos that we got here on YouTube. Hit like and subscribe and all that stuff because that is important to YouTube, you know. But yes, there is a video about how to research the value of your guitar here in our YouTube, in our 150 YouTube videos.
oh, did you make one?
Yeah, I made one, and I think it'd be useful doing price research on the major sites. And we'll see you next week. And come here and buy all the guitars. Buy yourself a Guild
Just
or
pick up 3 or
PRS.
4. That's all you
We
got.
got a Bunting. We got the first K electric guitar ever made. We got all sorts of cool stuff. So stand by for the end.
The end. And I'll see you in 2 weeks because I'm not here next week.
This is the end. Say goodnight, Gary.